Dear students, welcome to Java programming course. We are in Unit 4 and Chapter 2 is exception handling. And these are the topics we are going to discuss. Throws keyword, throw versus throws, finally keyword. And all these are clauses for handling exceptions. First topic, throws keyword or throws clause. Till now, we discussed throw clause to throw an exception explicitly. But whereas coming to this throws clause or throws keyword, if any method is capable of causing an exception that it does not handle, or that method not capable of handling that exception, then it must specify this behavior so that callers of the method can guard themselves against that exception. That it means if any method generates an exception and it does not handle those exceptions, then it informs to the callers of that method. Then they will they will maintain their own handlers to handle that exception generated by that method. So in that case, this throws class is very useful, and to do this by including a throws class in the methods declaration, and that it means of the method, whatever the list of exceptions generated, and it mentions and specifies those type of exceptions in the method declaration itself. And a throws class list here, a throws class lists the type of exceptions that a method might throw. This is necessary for all exceptions except those type of error or runtime exceptions. Right? By this statement, we can conclude that this throws keyword is used only for checked exceptions, not mandatory for unchecked exceptions. So we are telling that this is necessary for all exceptions. Maybe we can use, but most of the time this throws keyword use it to throw the checked exceptions. So here this is necessary for all exception except those type error or runtime exception. Runtime exceptions nothing but unchecked, right? So it is necessary for checked exceptions but not for unchecked exceptions, right? Or any other classes. All other exceptions that a method can throw must be declared in a throws class. If they are not, compile time will error will result. So go to example for understanding this one. So here it is. Before going to that one, just see the general form of a method declaration that includes this throws class. So specify the type of a method, method name, parameter list, throws keyword, and exception list generated by this method. And that exceptions does not handle by this method. Just this method throws only those list of exceptions specified in the method declaration itself using throws keyword. And you can have your body of code to generate exceptions. So here exception list is a comma separated list of exceptions that a method can throw. Got it? And here it is example given here. This example is an incorrect program that tries to throw an exception that it does not catch. So this method called throw one inside of this class, and it is a static method. And this method throws an exception, right? If this method throw an exception like illegal access exception. If you observe, this is checked exception. Checked exception must and should be checked at compile time, not at runtime. Unchecked exceptions occurred at runtime, and checked exception must be checked at compile time. Okay. So when this method generates an checked exception like illegal access exception using throw keyword and not specifying any type of information that this method generating one exception using throw keyword. So that is incorrect program here. So method simply throwing an exception and without specifying to the callers who call this method. Okay. So but inside of main, we made a call to this method throw one. Then automatically that exception thrown by this method. And we don't have any handler methods defined here. Why? Because the method itself is not handling not handling that exception. And even though we don't know this method whether it generates exception or not, so that's why we didn't maintain or provided any exception handlers by calling this method. So then what happens? Automatically their runtime, Java runtime system provides default handler for these exceptions, so that can handle. So but here this is checked exception. So listen carefully, this is very important. So this is checked exception and it should be handled and specify handler, then only it accepts. Otherwise it gives a compile time error, not a runtime error, compile time error. Then go to execution part of this one, exception 13. Yes, it is. So here throw one is a method. It throws an exception, illegal access exception. And inside main, this method invoked. Okay. Then compile command prompt. Okay, come to here. Command prompt. Compile that one. Java C exception 13 dot Java. So there in this program we have checked exception, and without handling that exception, it gives compile error. So see, it is given compile error and indicating that unreported exception, illegal access exception must be caught or declared to be thrown by that method, right? Then only it accepts, otherwise it cannot allow you to generate this type of exceptions. Okay. Whereas now coming to here, take another example, the same program. So here I'm mentioning that same program, that it means to make this example compile, the previous program to compile, you need to make two changes. The first thing is you need to declare that method throw one method using this throws class and specifying what type of exception it throws. That is the first case. So that's why we have mentioned that in the method declaration. This is method declaration followed by throws keyword and the type of exception it generates. And the second change should be made to this program is the main must define a try catch statement that catches this exception. Why? Because inside main program, we are making a call to this method or we are invoking this method. So the method clearly mentioning and specifying the details about this method. When we invoke this method, it throws an illegal access exception. So it specifies this exception type generated when it invokes. So 100% we need to maintain try when we call this method. This statement should be inside of try. And we need to define one catch block to handle that illegal access exception. And this caught exception is displayed by this system.out.println statement. Okay. And also mentioning that of this method accessed or invoked or not, we are just given one statement like inside throw one method, and this method is thrown by this method. Just go and check this one, the same exception 14 here as it is. So here this method declaration specifying that exception type thrown using throws keyword. And inside main, we are invoking the method using try block. And when it throws illegal access exception, I have a handler to handle that one. Right? Coming to the command prompt for execution of this one. First compile this one. The 14. Yes. No compile error because in the previous program we got compile error, but here it is not. Why? Because the method specified that method exception thrown. Then inside main we have a handler to handle that exception when we invoke that method. So it is clear. Then execute this one. The exception generated, the method accessed. So that's why inside throw method throw one is printed, and the exception generated and the catch block defined inside main function caught that exception, and the description displayed on this on the screen like this. So this is use of throws keyword. When the function or a method unable to handle that one, at least that method should specify to the callers to maintain their handlers to handle the exceptions generated by this method. Next one, important points to remember about throws keyword. So this keyword is required only for checked exceptions. And usage of throws keyword for unchecked exception is meaningless. Why? Because generally we throw these unchecked exception using throw keyword. Inside of method, we are throwing exceptions using throw keyword, but most of the time this throws class use it to throw the exceptions type checked exceptions. And this keyword is required only to convince compiler. And main usage of this keyword does not prevent abnormal termination of the program. Generally, when we get generation of these type of exceptions generated by any method, checked exceptions should be checked and handled at compile time only. Otherwise, it gives compile error. And this checked exception are those keyword using and does not prevent abnormal termination of our program. So generally, when our exception generated, if it is doesn't handle, then automatically our program terminates at an abnormal condition. So to avoid or to prevent this abnormal termination of our programs, we are maintaining different mechanisms of exception handling techniques, right? So, but we cannot prevent by this throws keyword. By the help of throws keyword, we can provide information to the caller of the method about the exception. So even though the method generating, when the method generating exceptions, when it doesn't able to handle, then it just provide information to the caller of the method. They maintain own handlers when they invoke that method, right? Here, these are the key points to be remembered and very important, maybe expecting for external examinations with example problems also. Next, coming to for understanding of this one, I mentioned here unchecked exceptions for your considerations and for your better understanding. So here I have a class called exception 15. I have a static void method, and inside this method throws one arithmetic exception, right? Without parameters here mentioned. So without specifying any information about the method throwing exception, so when we invoke this method, automatically one exception generated, right? Arithmetic exception will generate and no catch handler provided here. So Java runtime default exception handler will active and handle this one. But the same method we can use using here. So suppose we are specifying the details, the same method specifying that the exception type it generates when it invokes and using throws keyword, and this information provides at the method declaration. And inside you can throw this exception. In the previous one, we just mentioned that constructor type without parameters, and here you can use thrown by method or simply with no parameter. Whatever it is, this I'm showing you both. And anywhere else, when we call a method, a call to this method, we mustn't use this try block to handle or throw the exception generated by this method. And coming to catch handler for that exception, it already specified this method. When others trying to invoke this method, it provided information, but definitely this method throws one arithmetic exception. So that's why the caller maintains catch handler for handling that exception, right? So both are very simple. For your convenience, these programs are given. Just I will show you the execution parts of this things. So 15 program without specifying details of the exception generated by method. Yes, it is. So we did not provided here initially. We did not provide any handler for generating that arithmetic expression, and also even method also doesn't provide any information. So runtime Java default handler handled that exception. Okay. Next, the same way, coming to the okay, so I will show you the program. Yes, this is the program we have taken. Here, this method specifying that information to the callers. So that's why the caller maintains the try blocks and catch blocks, the exception generated by that method. Okay. Coming to here, compile this one. And execute. So here, exception is thrown by that method when we invoke that method. That exception is handled by our own exception handler, right? So that's why it's given the information and string description of the expression exception generated by method. Next one, another example, and we already seen this example. When age is less than 18, it generates one arithmetic exception. Right here, this check age method informs to the callers that exception generated is arithmetic exception. So inside of this, here it is no try and no catch blocks, right? But this method is throwing an exception and informs to the callers. So here, even though it informs and we don't have any handler mechanisms here, but when we throw an exception by this method, and here it is the constructor use it with string description or string parameter, and this information will automatically display on the screen. And here also the Java runtime default exception handler will active and handle this one. So this is the same program we have taken here. So observe here age 15. So it generates an exception. Then go to compiler command prompt for compile and execution of this program. So this is, so if you observe here clearly, when we are not handle this exception, the default runtime Java runtime default exception handler will handle this exception and specifies the exception string description like this using stack trace, right? In the previous programs also like this. This is the information. This way the information provided at output, nothing but this is information in the stack trace. So this is the information when we use our own exception handler and we given that information string description about the exception generated. That's why thrown by method like this, we can give our own exception information, right? Next one, the same example and a different way. Here using this throws keyword for generating multiple exceptions by the method. This is one different case here. Take the same method as we discussed in the previous programs. So it is a method taking one parameter and based on that it has one expression like b equal to 42 by 8. When it's 0, it generates arithmetic exception. And one array declaration with size 1, but we are trying to access 42 index of this array. It is an array index out of bounded exception. So this part of code, this line of code generates two exceptions. One is arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. So both the exceptions are generated by this method, right? So that's why this method specifies this information in the method declaration using this throws class. And these two exceptions are separated with a comma and provides information to the callers. So inside of main function, when we make a call to this method by passing one argument a, that is the value initialized with the command line arguments given at runtime by executing this program. Okay, so when this value 0, then it generates arithmetic. When it is not 0, then it generates array out of index found exception. Are you able to understand what is the behavior of this method and how these exceptions are generated, right? So easy. And so that's why we have mentioned this call to this method inside of try block. And we have designed two catch handlers for handle the two exceptions generated by this method. So very clear in structure and try to execute this one. So here also the provided the information of execution of this program like this. When we compile with 0 argument command line arguments, the a value becomes 0, it generates arithmetic exception. When we give any one command line argument, a value becomes that non-zero, it generates array out of bound index exception. Got it? Then go to execution part of this one. Remember that program filing exception 18. Yes. So this is exception 18. That static method specifies that exceptions raised multiple exceptions using throws keyword or throws class in method declaration. And when we invoke this method, we maintain try block of this method called inside of try block, and we design two catch handlers for handling those two type of exceptions generated by this method. Okay, coming to the execution at compile time, command prompt, clear screen. That is exception filing 18. So compile successfully and execute this one. So without command line arguments given here, I didn't give any command line argument, that a becomes 0. What type of exception it generated? Divide by 0, and that exception is handled by our exception designed in main function. And I'm again running the same program by giving some parameter like a. One argument is passed as command line, then execute this one, A becomes value 1, non-zero. Then it generates array out of bound exception according to the instructions given in the method code. Okay. So multiple exceptions generated by a single method using throws keyword. This is also one of the concept of this throws keyword. Got it? And next one, throw versus throws. See the differences. You only, I think you almost all you know about throws class and throw class and throws class. And just I'm reminding you the main points. Throw and throws. Throw use it to throw an exception for a method or inside a method, right? Side method is throwing, and for a method it throw an exception. And here this throws class use it to indicate what exception type may be thrown by a method, right? And next one, cannot throw multiple exceptions. But using throws class, we can declare multiple exceptions at the time of method declaration. And syntax is throw is followed by an object, that new type, new keyword used inside the method. But whereas throws is followed by a class and use it with the method signature. That it means this throws class mentioned and specifies the information about exceptions generated by the method, and this is mentioned at the method declaration or method signature. So these are the main important, and maybe some more there, and you can write many more differences between these throw and throws. And coming to the another clause, and totally we have 5 clauses or 5 keywords to handle exceptions in our programs: try, catch, throw, throws, finally. So 4 keywords already discussed, and with the example program examples. Now it's time to discuss the last one, is finally clause or a finally keyword. Generally, this is nothing but it is also like a block like try and catch. Finally creates a block of code that will execute after a try and catch block has completed, right? And this finally block will execute whether or not an exception is thrown. And it doesn't matter when we have a finally block in your program, right? So it will execute whether that an exception is generated or thrown or handled, whatever it is case, the finally block 100% it executes once it placed in your program. And finally clause is an optional thing and not mandatory in the case of exception handling mechanism. That's why till now we didn't mention any finally clause in our programs while handling the exceptions, right? So it is an optional case, and when it is important and when we require this help of this finally clause while executing or while handling the exceptions in our programs. Let's see. See the example here. Exception 19 class inside main function. I have a try block and I defined one array with size 3 and initialized values 1 to 3. And I'm displaying the index of this array, 10th index of this array. But the size is 3, but I'm expecting size 10, 10th index. So it is an error type called array index out of bound exception, right? So it is not hello, it is an exception, 100% it will generate it, right? So to catch that exception and handle to that case, I need a catch block after immediate after this try block. And here I'm not mentioning that array index out of bounds specifically. And exception is a superclass to all these runtime exceptions. So this exception also can handle that exception. Not only that, if maybe arithmetic exception generated, still this catch block can handle that exception. Okay. So I'm giving multiple type of usages of these things for improving your programming skills, right? So catch block exception mean. So exception is caught and what type of exception is caught in display, right? And then finally statement and finally block is defined inside of this class that the try and catch is finished. So this is simply statement that it means here it is exception generated and handled. And finally is statement and block of code 100% executes and it doesn't link with any exception generated or not generated or maybe handled or not handled. It doesn't matter to this finally code a block of code execution. Okay. Then coming to execution part of this one, remember that is 19 recipes. So here this class here inside of mine have taken one integer with the C values and displaying trying to display the 10th index of the array. It gives exception, right? The same we have taken and go to command prompt. Compile successfully and run this program. The exception is caught as a out of bound exception generated for the index 10, and this can be this this exception was handled by our catch exception catch handler, right? And if you observe here that finally block also executed. So the statement is mentioned in finally block. Okay, so finally we'll execute and go for another examples of this finally block. And before that, just say here when it is required. Here, suppose if a method opens a file upon entry, mean nothing but to enter something data into the file, it opens a file and closes when it upon exit, right? And here you will not want to code that closes the file to bypass it by the exception handling mechanism. So during this process, maybe exception generate based on the file operations. As it is, some exceptions will generate, and I will show you some examples at later topics. And in those cases, you don't want to leave that file to be opened and you want to close that file and that function and operation not to be bypassed by the exception handling mechanism. And we know that when exception is generated, then the control is transferred from that exception where it occurred and it goes to verify the catch handler for handling that exception. But when it is the exception rise when the file is open, then exception control automatically go out of the try block. That it means the file is still open, but you want to close that file and you don't want to leave that file to be open, right? Even though when exception is generated on handle. So in that case, the finally block is helpful to you. And we know that finally block executes and doesn't matter or not depend on any exception generated or handle. So you can maintain a code that relates to close the file in finally block. When you open a file and you are applying operations or doing something or maybe exception generated that may be caught or not caught or handled or not handled. But when go out of this situation or you are going to complete the program or exception generated and handled, the finally block automatically execute. Then what code you have mentioned in the finally block is to close the file. So that in that case, this finally block 100% helpful to you like that. If an exception is thrown, the finally block will execute even no catch statement matches the exception. So it doesn't depends on the situation. So right, anytime a method is about to return, this is also important. Anytime a method is about to return, to the caller from the inside of try or catch block. Still, the finally clause also execute just before the method returns. Even though when in a try block we have a method return statement, then when we call the method like and we are returning from the try block, still in that case also the finally block defined after try block it automatically executes. So that is the point to be remembered here. So see here, this point gives you more information. Each try statement requires at least one catch or one finally clause, even though it is optional, right? Try statement requires at least one catch. Why? Because when you are maintaining try block, it means that maybe a chance to occur exceptions. Then immediate catch block handles that exception generated by try block. And even you can also maintain finally with try, and I will show you that in the example. So see here in this example program, exception 20 class, I have a procedure A, and here it is inside of this procedure A, I have a try block to generate one exception called runtime exception. So I'm mentioning that if this method accessed or not, invoked or not, I have given one display statement like inside procedure A or method A. So immediate after this try block, I have a finally block indicating that procedure A finally block. Right. So procedure A behavior is a try block is there, one exception is thrown by this method. Right. It throws one exception. And another procedure B and having try block and finally block without catch statements like. And inside of this try block, I have a written statement. Written statement, nothing but goes the control out of this block, even though still finally will execute. And we know that inside of coming to procedure A, inside throw, any throw statement, any exception generated, the control transfers from this statement to verify the catch blocks or handle this exception. So in that case also this finally block will execute. The return statement also do the same. The control transfers from this try block, still it executes finally. That is the use of this block. And whereas coming to this procedure C, so here it has one try statement and indicating that one statement and simply normal try block and execute. Here also one finally statement, procedure C finally. So this is the behavior of this class called exception 20. Three methods, one method try block throwing an exception, another method try block return statement, and each method has its finally block, and procedure C having try block with normal, there is no any exception generated or no any return statements. A normal try block execution with finally block. And coming to the main function of this class, so procedure A having one exception thrown, right? One exception is thrown inside of this procedure or a method A. So that's why I have try block here again to handle that one. Why? Because this method generates one exception. So I have an exception called what type of exception? I don't know. That's why I have mentioned that here it is exception catch handler. The exception is called. And procedure B and procedure C, there is no information about the method generates an exception. So procedure B have written statement, in procedure C no exception generated here. So I have directly invoked those methods. Right? If you observe all are static methods, I can invoke those methods by their names within the class. Then coming to the execution part of this one, exception 20. Yes, it is. Procedure A, exception, runtime exception. Procedure B, return statement. Procedure C, normal try block and statement. Inside of main, try block for calling this method A, and catch handler for exception handle generated by to handle exception generated by procedure A, and procedure B, procedure C, normal method invocation. And execution part of this one. Errors. So inside procedure A, that means method invoke, process A finally block executed. And exception caught. Why? Because procedure A generated exception and we caught at main method. Right. And inside procedure B method invoke, procedure B's finally block also executed. Inside procedure C, method in procedure C invoke and procedure C's finally block also executed. So in three different cases, the common thing is finally block executed. Whether the exception thrown, whether the method written, whatever the case, in normal cases, the statements after the statement generated exception will not execute. But here the finally block has its own importance of this type of situations to be handled. Okay. Thank you.